What's up, guys? My name is Cal, and we're back today with more Railroads Online, joined by Hyce. How's it going, sir? How are you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. I've been playing with my model train set at home, so it's been very
guys.
exciting.
Hyce's model rail set, though, he showed me a picture. Okay, it's got 3 rails, cause it's like
because Lionel.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. It's old school. It's classic. It's what got me into railroading in general. So I've been, experiencing my inner 4-year-olds lying on the floor staring at Lionel trains like I did back when I was a real 4-year-old.
I'm not gonna say that my immersion is ruined, but the front of my train is clipping the side of every one of your cars as you drive.
I mean,
by.
it doesn't look like it on my end.
We're a little
It's
close
fine.
here.
We call it a saw-by in the industry.
What, where you smoke the corner of a train with another train?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It's fine.
All right. So mission for the day. Obviously, I've got 2 extra hoppers. We spent some money. I bought some hoppers. We bought more cordwood cars as well. So Hyce, because the smelter is dry on both. Well, actually, no, it has some iron. Not a lot, but a little bit.
But we want to make money, and the iron's
we want to make money.
Expensive per car than the cordwood is. So
yeah, exactly. So iron and
I
cordwood.
supply the iron mine, or I supply the smelter, and you make us money.
Please don't bring the cordwood all the way to the iron mine. That would be a very, very large waste of time.
Yes, it would, because Montezuma would not be good for it.
No.
6.5% Montezuma is good for just about 20,000 pounds, which I'm pretty sure is like 1 cordwood car.
Like nothing.
So it would be. We've done 8 times up the hill, but we haven't done 9 times up the hill. So
I'm in the Glenbrook. So what am I good for? Up 6.5%. What's the
Glenbrook is good for 47,789.
And
so
my cars are 13,000 pounds a piece, so I can do less than 3 of them. Just over 3 of them, 3.5.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to either double it or get the helper going.
No, I'll get the class. Goat. Yeah, we'll bust out the class 48.
So I guess let me know when you get to the helper station, and I can just teleport there. It'll be great.
It's super convenient. You're going to be loading cordwood for the next 5 years. And listen, I want to point this out to viewers before anybody complains. I offered Hyce which train to drive. We discussed the objectives, and I said, which would you like to do? Load cordwood for 35 minutes straight, or would you like to drive the train to the helper, to the smelter? And he said he wanted to load cordwood. So don't think that I'm forcing Hyce to do all the terrible jobs here.
He's not. He's not punishing me for my hubris of derailing the Glenbrook several times last time.
He wanted to do the cordwood. So you got that switch set?
I did. I set it for me, but you're going to have to get it for yourself.
Yeah, that's fine.
On the way, going the other way.
I actually can't. I don't know if you're full regging it or not, but I am. I could catch. I'm coasting and catching you. That's how bad this is.
Montezuma and 9 cars, man. I mean, it was 9 cars. I left it in notch 8.
Yeah, she don't move, at all. It's great.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just feeling nostalgic for the Montezuma, so I said, "Hey, I'd like to run that engine today." So that's what I'm doing.
I'm full throttling a lot of the time. It's kind of interesting. I wanted to talk about this. We discussed it a little bit before, but I'm doing the thing I saw you. So I watched. Guys, Hyce has a YouTube channel, which is crazy.
I do. It's the craziest thing.
It's insane. But he does real life train stuff for the 5 people who don't know this at this point, and. As part of that, I watched your video where you were operating, I don't know what engine you were operating. I honestly didn't pay attention that much, but you were operating the Polar Express at the museum, and I noticed when you were starting the train, which we never talked about before, but when you were pulling the regulator out to increase the pressure, you actually, first of all, there's a huge delay between when you pull the reg and when you actually hear the pistons chuff. And then the second thing is you actually jockey the regulator back and forth. So you give it a bunch and then you let it go. You give it a bunch, you let it go. And I clued into it when I was watching the video. It's because you have to fill the line from the regulator to the piston with steam pressure or else the whole thing won't work. So it's you're slowly filling the line because if you just opened it wide up, you'd I guess blow the piston out or something. It would be this crazy...
Well,
anyway.
So you wouldn't blow the piston out. You could go wide open from absolute dead if you really wanted to, but it's all about trying to mitigate wheel slip.
Right.
Because more powerful engines, and particularly the engine I was operating in the video, Rio Grande Southern number 20, very slippery locomotive. She's got a lot of tractive effort, but only 6 drivers. I mean, she's got...
So it's a 460 or something? Or
460, 10-wheeler. It's almost got triple the power of the Glenbrook.
And it's got blind middle drivers?
blind middle driver as well, which doesn't affect your traction, but does help go around corners and everything.
Right.
But when you're starting off, you need to get enough steam going to start firing both cylinders, because a lot of the time you're trying to overcome the inertia of the train and everything, get things rolling, but it can be really, really a top dead center or back dead center. I'm mixing my cars and my trains. Sorry, folks. Front dead center or back dead center event in the actual piston itself will totally kill any momentum you have when you're going that slow.
Right.
So you kind of need to get up and go so that you're using both sides and getting power out of both cylinders. But at the same time, you don't want to slip. And if slipping will kill any momentum you have. And the interesting thing is you can feel when you're about to slip through the throttle bar. And that's why when you're watching me slam the throttle shut, it's because I'm feeling it try to slip. Because what happens is you end up sending steam down the dry pipe, which is the pipe in the boiler that sends it to the smoke box, and then it gets separated to the pistons. Then you charge all that up with steam, and the steam hits the steam chest where the valves are themselves that admit the steam into the cylinders. And once you hit boiler pressure, so you're sending everything, 130 pounds, whatever it is the engine runs at, to the steam chest. You start stacking that pressure and that flow back up towards the valve again if you're not moving. And then, or if you're moving slowly, etc., you're not exhausting steam yet, that delay that you were talking about. And so you end up pressurizing and back pressuring the valve. And so the engine will try and hand you the throttle bar. They'll
Right.
try and throw you the bar.
It tries to open the bar because it's feeling this back pressure.
Exactly.
But then
and
what's
so right
what's the solution for that though? Because if the pipe's full of pressure and the valve is not open at the piston, you just have to wait till the wheel rotates further to get the valve open, because the valve is driven straight by the Johnson bar, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, and if
So
you
if
top
you're- if
dead
you're
center
all-
it, then your valve's stuck closed and you fill the pipe with steam pressure. You're dead center, so the wheels aren't moving. You're in a dead center position. The pipe is full of pressure. Like, what can you do? Aren't you just stuck?
Open the cylinder cocks and roll backwards and start over.
You open the cylinder cocks to bleed all the pressure out,
Yep.
and then you let... What if you're on a flat surface, you just wouldn't roll at all? So then what?
Well, if you're on a flat surface, you're probably not going to be struggling with a front or back dead center thing near as much.
Right.
But you can find other positions, if you're having a limit by the valve, sometimes you can kick the slack of the train the other way, right? So, okay, I'm in complete tension. I'm trying to pull really hard. That's why I'm experiencing this. I can horse it backwards, and I can give myself a little slack and then try and gently but firmly get going, and then take
Right,
up
you only
the
need
slack
like
easily.
2 or 3 inches of movement to get the wheel out of the top dead center position.
Just enough. Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay. That seems like it would be a really terrible situation. Okay, so real life question. How many times has Hyce top dead centered an engine?
Oh, God. It happens all the time.
Okay.
And you have to...
It's just a regular occurrence.
This is a regular occurrence, because you got to remember the way that we operate at the museum. We're starting in close to a 28-degree curve, so sharp curve that binds you,
Right.
on a up to 3.5% grade uphill,
Right.
with smaller engines with lots of cars behind them, just to make the capacities we need to do.
Right, I saw
And so-
your video. You said you had 200,000 pounds of cars.
Yeah.
Is that
and that's not
including
the people?
That's not including people weight. So presumably
Yeah.
you have another 50,000 pounds of people. If you've got
Yeah.
300 people on the train, 300
So
people
it-
times 200
adds up
pounds is
very quick.
60,000 pounds. Just like that.
Yeah, our capacity is actually only like 140, I think, across the
Okay,
5
so
cars.
even
They're-
still 140.
but
You're still at 20,000 pounds of people.
it is significant, yes.
You know.
So the interesting thing is, you think about it, and you think about the way you stop to have good train handling, and it becomes very clear why you tend to stop centered.
Right.
Because the engine, when is it putting out the least power?
That's
when it's
centered.
only on one side.
Right.
When you've centered the one side. And so if you're coming with the brakes set, and you're coming into the station, and you're trying to work it to a nice smooth stop with a lot of tension, when's it going to stop if you've got a decent amount of brakes behind it, right when you're centered?
Right.
So you have to kind of grab it right before it wants to stop, or pull through just past, and it can be very challenging to get that exactly right, and that's a skill that takes a long time to develop.
So
It still happens to me every now and again, but I've definitely got to the point where I can pretty regularly miss that unfortunate bit.
interesting thing. I actually learned about the whole top dead centering thing when I was a very small child. Not in terms of steam locomotives, but just in terms of the operation of a piston crank mechanism. Because it's essentially what if you think your car is anything special, it's not. It's the same technology as a steam engine, just with a different explosive fuel. It's all it is.
And a bunch of plastic on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But at the end of the day, you're using steam pressure from a boiler with a valve, right? And that's moving a piston. So you've got a 2-piston system, right? And a car engine being, let's say, like a V6 or a V8 is essentially the same thing, except instead of the steam expanding in a separate chamber, you're expanding it in the chamber itself. So you put in a liquid fuel, a liquid air mix fuel, which is actually vapor. And then as you ignite that, it goes through rapid expansion inside the cylinder, and that's what causes the cylinder to move. Right?
Exactly.
And then do this 3,000 times per minute and, 6 different cylinders in a sequence, and boom, done, you have a car engine. It's the exact same technology, just applied differently. But when we talk about...
And the centering issue becomes so much less because you have more cylinders, and
more
you're also
cylinders, and you also have
running
a big,
them so much faster.
Yeah, you're
and
running
you've
them
got cam
faster,
and
and you have a big, heavy flywheel that is much, much heavier than the cylinders themselves. So, once you start the flywheel in motion with the electric starter, she's going to keep spinning in that direction for a long... And then you have the other thing where you have a transmission, the gears aren't perfectly... They're not always engaged. You have a neutral gear, etc., right? There's a lot of other things cars have. But anyway, back to the point of high dead center. My mom had an old Singer sewing machine, right? And
right.
If you remember the old sewing machines, they had that foot pedal thing. And it was actually a simple system. It was basically a tilting platform on the ground that you put both your feet on, and you would roll your ankles forwards and backwards. And as you rolled your ankles, they were connected with a little wire, stiff wire rod, to this, basically a crank on a big flywheel, which then ran to a pulley to the sewing machine. And the interesting thing about the Singer sewing machines is when we were kids, you don't leave the belt connected because you don't want to, injure somebody or whatever. So the wheel, you could just go underneath it and just push the thing, and it would just free spin the wheel. So we very quickly learned that if you just apply straight power to the wheel and don't alternate your power, it'll get stuck. If you just open it, if you push down as hard as you can, it'll just want to go to the top dead center point and sit there. So you have to regulate your power, which is essentially the same thing you're doing with the throttle of a steam engine. You have to
Exactly.
pull it on full and then let it off, and then pull it on full, let it off. So it doesn't want to get to that stuck position. It wants to ride past it, and then you give it power again.
Yeah. The interesting thing on the steam side as well is a lot of it is about mitigating the slip too, because
right,
you're controlling the steam delivery to the cylinders with that delay, and the throttle is far from a precise instrument. You can see how far you're moving the rod, which translates to a certain amount that the actual plug itself, the throttle plug, moves. But there's no, I know exactly how much steam is flowing. There's no gauge. There's no way to tell. There's nothing like that. And so you cannot get, this is how much steam I'm using at this speed. It's always going to try and keep building on you until you gain that speed. So at slow speeds, there is no real practical throttle setting that will not end up leading to a wheel slip for you, because you're going to keep charging boiler pressure through, and as soon as it gets there, the wheels will spin, and then there you go. And
they'll spin until the pressure gets bled out through the cylinders, basically.
Precisely, and if the throttle's still open, it'll keep the slip going, and sometimes it can be quite dangerous and volcanic, and it can ruin the fire, it can ruin the running gear. It's really bad. Slipping the wheels is not great. As much of a fun show as it can put on sometimes. And so you're really trying to mitigate that, and that's where a lot of the open, close jerk goes, because there's no setting for this is how much it goes. You learn to feel, if I open it this far for this long and then slam it, it's not going to slip on me. I know the engine. I have the feel for the engine, and it's different for every locomotive out there, because every pipe's different, every valve's different, every crank's different.
And
it
would be different. It would feel different even on 2 locomotives that are built the exact same way. You would just slight manufacturing differences would just mean who knows. Yeah. That's
So
rather interesting.
The fun, interesting thing where this gets even more challenging in some respects is with later locomotives that are superheated.
And
So,
superheating is where you take the boiler pipe and you run it back through the firebox to get it hotter before it goes out.
You run the steam from the steam dome where the throttle is, so where your safety valve's popping off and the whistle's located in Railroads Online. That is your steam dome, so all your steam lives in there. Or not all your steam, but that's the top point, and that's where the throttle is. That sends down the dry pipe, and then when you get to the smoke box on a superheated engine, they split it up into a bunch of little pipes that then run inside the flues,
right,
where your exhaust gases go, and you basically take the steam, which is at about, maybe 400 Fahrenheit for a 200 psi locomotive, and you increase it to like 700 or 800 Fahrenheit. So you get a lot more expansion and a lot more efficiency out of it. But what you've also done is you've like doubled or tripled the amount of piping between your control and when it gets to the cylinders.
And it's changing temperature in that time too, so it'll be like it'll build in pressure, wouldn't it, inside that piping then?
It doesn't build in pressure because it's no longer a mixture of water and steam.
Pure steam.
It's just steam, so straight superheated steam at that point.
Right, so it just gets hotter, and then as a result generates more energy on the output
it
side
expands a lot more from that same volume, which is why it's so efficient and why almost every modern steam locomotive in the United States had superheat of some variety. But without having a more modern throttle, which is called a front-end throttle, it can be a little interesting to learn because you're basically talking about a 3 or 4 second delay if you're not already having steam flow through.
Right.
So when you first crack the throttle open, it is a long time, and it's really funny because you'll feel the engine start to heave, and you need to slam the throttle shut, else you're going to do a 60-mile-an-hour burnout for a couple seconds.
When you first fire up any of your engines from like a dry start, so there's no steam in the line going all the way to the cylinder, you're basically, because once you have the line filled with steam, as long as you keep the throttle open a little bit, you can keep the line filling at a constant enough rate, and that'll constantly go out the cylinders and all that nonsense. But when you're starting from a dry start, so do you go like full throttle and then instantly off just to start getting the line kind of primed up, or do you just kind of go on easy, or does it depend on the engine? Like, how do you feel that out?
You tend to take it a little easy. You don't really need to get to full throttle, and if you were to do that, a lot of times you'll cause a slip sooner than you'd expect. So you tend to kind of open it up enough so that you see, on our coal burners, you see the snifters shut. The snifters are a little gravity-operated valve that sits by the valve itself in the steam chest, and they prevent vacuum from building up as you're drifting.
Oh, gotcha.
And so,
okay.
Because if you have vacuum, then you're sucking exhaust gas and cinders and things into the engine, which is bad. We don't like our rings being ruined.
They just open with gravity and close with pressure.
Close with pressure. So you open the throttle and you'll hear the engine go shoop,
and so those basically bleed the entire line from your throttle to the steam cylinder.
Correct. Yeah.
So if you're coasting for long enough, wouldn't they just open when you were coasting?
They do. That's the whole point of them.
Oh, they just
because
open
if
while
you're
you're
coasting,
and it's just bleed all the pressure out. So then when you get back on the throttle after coasting, it'll take a while to fill the line again. You're just back at that.
It's a lot less time than you think because of the pressures.
Right.
But, it is maybe half second or a second on the small engines or something to first prime it open, but it's not something you really notice. But the snifter, they're extremely important because if you're coasting and you don't have one, an engine, there are other ways to get around this that other engines that don't have snifters do. But you still have stuff in the smoke box that is now being tried to reverse suck into the blast nozzle and go into the valves. And how is coal grit for your rings and your piston liners? It's
I'm at the helper station, by the way. If you want to come join up.
Are you seriously?
Yep.
I am almost done loading cordwood. I have 3 more.
I had a nice slow leisurely drive too, like 20% reg, not even like trying to push it, just chilling, it was great. I'm getting the Class 48 fired up though, and I'll get it pulled out onto the main.
Okay, well I just teleported to you.
Perfect. Well, here you go. You can take the Class 48. Have a good day, sir.
Okay. We'll do that.
Put some fire in it. We're gonna have to bring wood up here at some point, but that's okay. Future problems.
Indeed.
Well, we'll just bring a tender up from another engine, unload the one tender into it, and then, you know, that engine can refill it.
That'll be the move.
Yeah.
So I was talking in the comments recently, and apparently both headlights of the Class 48 were just removed as a part of the winter update.
Okay. But they left the flame.
But they left the flame. So
oh, no, the flame's gone today. There's no flame today.
Okay, interesting.
Oh, you can turn it on and off. Look at this. If I click and drag where the headlight's supposed to be, I can turn on the eternal flame. Hold on. Can I give you a front flame like Rudolph? Let me see. Oh, I can. Look at that. You've got a front flame now. That is amazing.
Go the red-nosed.
I don't understand. Hold on, I gotta put the bar up. I don't understand why you have no light though. I don't know why it needs to be. The back one I can understand. It was kind of in the way when you're standing here, but like
right. But
still the
why
shelf
why remove the lights but leave the shelves?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
You wouldn't have those shelves if you didn't have the lights.
Well, this is the decapitating shelf. Can you not tell? Like that's look, it's my head on a plate. Look at that.
There it is. It's on the platter.
You get such itty bitty drivers.
Yep, they're scooting quick.
But dang, they powerful.
Will we get spicy Glenbrook?
Yeah, we're getting up to some spicy. The Glenbrook's tender, man, does not like Glenbrook. It's okay,
it is scary.
But the tender is freaking out compared to everything else.
I have heard legends that apparently the Cookie 280, the new Cook,
the big one,
you can run it. It does something like 23 mile an hour. It's a little slower than the Glenbrook, apparently.
Right.
But apparently you can just leave it unattended and it will just continue to go.
That's good. It's called the Constitution, isn't it, or something like that, or con something?
Consolidation.
Consolidation.
Yes.
I don't know.
A 280 consolidation.
I actually called it a mogul in my video, and then I was like, oh god, I gotta post a comment real quick and let people know it's not a mogul because I'm dumb.
Right. It's consolidation, not a mogul. Come on.
Yeah. And that's just, is that just a, I don't really know the naming convention. Is every 260 a mogul, or is that just their...
Yes, that is just the name of the class.
Most 260s.
Most every arrangement of wheels out there also has a name. Some of them have multiple because some railroads were a pain in the butt. Like the 484 arrangement, depending on who you talk to, is a bunch of different names, so...
Okay. What's the most ridiculous wheel combination you can think of off the top of your head?
Oh god, the commenters are going to have a field day with this because there are some very wacky ones out there. The wackiest that comes to mind right here, right now, is the Russians had a 414-4 that they ran. 14 drivers, 7
all
coupled.
Unarticulated 14 drivers?
Unarticulated.
How do you get, like, what's the sharpest corner you can take? Is like, what, 1 degree? Like, how do you even do that?
They only made one of them for a reason.
Like, you could never take a corner on that thing. Like, it would need, unless it had just a bajillion blind drivers, I guess, but then it would hang off the rails. Like, the thing is... Yeah,
it was pretty ungainly. It was a neat locomotive, but it had a cousin or a kindred spirit in the United States that was the 412-2 that the Union Pacific had, and they actually had 87 or 88 of those locomotives.
Okay, so 12 drivers, obviously
12 drivers.
Gives you more attractive effort.
Yes.
Is that okay?
More adhesion, which allows for more attractive effort to be put down.
And that's the only reason to do it. Like, there's no. It's just we want more pulling power on this choo-choo, so let's put more drivers. Like, that's
more wheels. It helps. Yeah. The funny thing was they tried either early Malleys or early articulated engines, and they didn't like them at first because the tech wasn't quite there.
Right.
And so they said, okay, well, we'll just make a really big, F-off locomotive like that. And so they made this huge class of 412-2s, and they primarily ran them in Nebraska for a reason. So
it's ridiculous.
Pretty straight lines.
Flat, open, straight lines, yeah. But hey,
right,
we can pull 17 million pounds because why not, right? Like,
yeah. They also had 3 cylinders, so they actually did pretty good. I got the switch. We're not going to the coal mine. Hooray!
That's good. You got to flick the next one so we can go to the runaround track.
Okay.
Because I can just pull. I got to flip my engine, actually, is what I got to do.
You got to spin, and I got to go back down and go continue my cordwood madness. So
yeah.
We thought about doing a run to the coal mine. Just to okay, let's run a train to it. Class 48's good for 51,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Betsy's good for 11,500. The Glenbrook's good for 9,600. And the Montezuma's only good for 2,100 pounds.
Which
so
you might as well not bring it at that point.
You might as well not bring it.
It's not helping the situation. It's probably gonna it's a theoretical 2,100. It's probably negative once you incorporate track friction and corners and all that.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, if we put 3 engines together, we're gonna be good for maybe 70-ish thousand pounds.
And a Climax is good for like 100,000 on its own, right? Like one of them.
Yeah, so. Climax is 106,000 pretty much by itself.
Yeah. So we need multiple Climaxes at the helper station if we want to consider doing 8 cars at once up the 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
gonna be too much of a slog otherwise.
Yeah, it's a silly
We decided
number.
that we should get some money and then maybe we'll go to the coal mine once we have a little bit more money and we have another.
But to be honest, the coal mine is kind of useless right now anyway, because the coal mine for us right now, we need to supply it to the ironworks, which we don't even have connected. So it's not really like a useful industry until we get connected to the rest.
Work. It would be a lot of work to run a short coal train to the freight depot ultimately.
For cheap.
And we'd literally make more money supplying iron to the smelter at less work right now.
And ideally, we don't want to waste coal by selling it to the freight depot. We want to use all our coal to only supply the ironworks, which in turn will give us better products to sell. So, like tools and all that nonsense.
Yes, when we get real clicking on Crane Simulator 1895.
But don't worry, guys. We'll eventually, I think once we've connected all the industries, we'll have to go back and make another coal route that goes through that calm valley on the far side and do a nice gradual route.
Doing a real track.
Yeah, so that way, if we feel like we want to run like 40 hopper cars, we can do it, and not. There's no way we'd ever take 40 up the 10%. That's just silly. That's just stupidity at its finest.
A Climax is only going to be good for like 7 or 8 empties by itself.
Yeah, with a road engine, you could probably get the 8 on its own. So it's we're good at math.
Not a great alignment we built, but it's fun. So
man, you know what? I don't know about you, Hyce. I'm having a blast. Okay, so I don't really care what you say about the alignment.
I agree. This is fun. This is the way that I play this game. I don't like to do super long winding routes. I don't like the idea of switchbacks. I like the idea of.
I am gonna build a switchback on this server at some point. Don't worry, I'm not gonna tell you when it's gonna happen, but at some point in time it's gonna happen. I'm gonna build one. I've already thought about it. I'm gonna clickbait the video with I built a secret switchback and didn't tell Hyce. 100%. And then I'm just gonna be like, surprise, we're taking the switchback route today, and you're gonna be like, I hate you so much, and that's just gonna
you're gonna
happen.
Clickbait it that way. And I'm going to clickbait it with Con makes me explode.
Yeah, don't worry. It's going to happen. I've thought about it. I've looked up switchbacks. I know where I want to build one, so it's going to happen. It's going to be great.
I'm glad.
And
I am excited to come unglued at you.
It's going to be like 3% switchbacks. That'll be it. So you're switching back a lot of different 3% lines over and over again. It'll be terrible. I can't wait.
Yeah. No, I prefer to take the Uinta approach and just do lots of drugs and consume too much alcohol and then design my railroad.
No, just do a 10%, man. Just do 10%. That's what this 10% roller coaster was. It was
Uncle Rico could throw a football over them mountains. We can run a train over them mountains. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's how this works.
Yeah, man, this 10% line, it was definitely a creation out of madness. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But
madness? This is the crap.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't matter though. It's gonna be great. How are you doing? You loaded yet? Have you finished loading? Or?
I got back to. I've got 1 cordwood loaded on 2 of the last 3 cars. So
you have 3 cars left to load, or 2 cars left to load?
Yeah. Well, I'm loading. There's 3 cars that are not full, and 2 of them are in process at the moment.
I am currently turning my train around. Oh boy. Well, it's a good thing we couldn't afford 8 cars.
Do we only have 70 iron or something?
No, we have 90 iron. We got enough iron, but if we were doing on this lane as it stands now, I can probably load 8 cars actually. I probably have enough space to push 2 more back, and then that's it. And then I would have to split the empties in half and load it in groups of 4.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Because it's I think the lane could fit 8. I'm pretty sure I could fit 8 total. That's kind of crazy though. It's we're almost at the limit, but anyway. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can count to 10.
Look at you. So I'm debating now in my head. Do
Uh-huh.
I send Montezuma down and I teleport to the sawmill and line my switches?
I
And
mean,
just
that's
trust that
only
it
like a
doesn't derail?
1.5. Maybe if you put it at like 20 or 30% reg, it'll...
It's 9 cars. I'm leaving it wide open. Okay.
Okay, well, you might be going back down the track after a couple minutes and wondering where Montezuma is.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll send the MOW crew out on the high rail to go chase it, see if they can find it.
Although, to be honest, when I was testing the snowplow, I used Montezuma for that, and I kept it wide open, and it didn't derail. The snowplow
Yeah,
did,
I don't
but
think Montezuma's speed got updated, so I don't
Yeah.
think. I mean, with the 1% down and all those cordwood cars, maybe it'll be a problem, but I'm probably going to be
you
able
just
to
like to
teleport
play
back
life
it, so.
risky. See, this is the problem. See, I'm pretty sure everyone goes to Colorado Railroad Museum. They're like, you know, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're here at the Colorado Railroad Museum, and we're going to bring you on the Polar Express. Now, just a warning, we have Hyce driving the locomotive today, and he likes to, quote, send it, end quote. So, buckle your seatbelts, kiddies. This is going to be a wild ride.
This here's the wildest ride in the wilderness. Yeah, basically. No,
Yeah.
it's a stark contrast between what do you do when you play video games and what do you do when you do the real thing, because it's like
Yeah.
you're so cognizant on the safety and you're so focused and it's so like cerebral to be operating things like that. So it is really honestly nice to just get to play a video game, drink a beer, and wreck the train. Like, just not care.
I disagree.
it's a lot
I
of fun.
disagree entirely. I play video games like very realistic. Okay, I like to you know, really imagine myself in the experience. I play every game in VR with a full motion tracker and a you know, so it's like, and I have a series of boxing gloves around me that'll hit me depending on how the character in the game. So when I fall down a mountain, man, holy cow!
Oh, you're
I
getting
get
beat to death.
Yeah, I get hammered by these boxing gloves, you know. So that's, you know, I play the full experience.
There have been some fun moments. Like we don't like truly send it at the museum because I mean it's against the rules and we don't. But there are some times when it's like, okay, well we're doing a double header and we're putting on a show or something, and you know you'll be in the second engine and you'll lean out and there'll be a big grin on the first engineer's face and he'll just kind of nod up and down at you and you go, okay, we want to go a little faster this time. And a little faster is like 12 miles an hour, but it feels
You guys don't
like
have,
light speed.
there's no speedometers or anything. Like there's no way to know your
No.
speed. You just kind of go for it. Have you clocked them with like a radar gun or something ever, or you just?
We've had GPS. We've never had a radar gun, but people's phone GPS for speed sometimes.
Right.
Me being the musician that I am, I calculate how many beats per minute the chuffs are and how fast it is based on the wheel diameter.
Right, and chuffs per minute. That
Because
makes
you
sense.
get 4 chuffs per revolution, so for every 4 beats, you get 1 wheel rotation, and then based on the circumference of the wheel, you know how far it's moved. And so I know precisely the speed limit for 491 for the best care of our track is 8 miles an hour. And 8 miles an hour in 491 sounds like bum, 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 bum. That many beats. So
That seems really
you can do
slow.
that math with any engine. It's
Like
fun.
that seems really slow when you think about 8 miles an hour, but I'm sure it feels like a rocket ship when you're moving around a giant mess of steel.
Yeah, 8 mile an hour. I mean, it still feels a little slow in 491 because you really start to feel fast when you start getting the kinematics of the locomotive going.
Right.
Like 346 with her little 36-inch drivers, when you get going about 17, 18 miles an hour, it is like, oh my God, this is the fastest I've ever gone in any vehicle ever. Because she's dancing all over the place. She's hunting really hard because she's only got the lead flange and the number 4 flange. The 2 middle drivers are blind. And she's just sitting there bouncing around the railroad, you know, trying to just buck everyone off like it's a horse. Then that's a very different experience from RGS 20 going even, 18 mile an hour. 20 wants to go fast. I've been going like 24 mile an hour in her at the Cumbres and Toltec, and it's like, this is as legally fast as we can go right now, and it is awesome, and she just wants to go faster.
Right.
So it just depends. But I mean, yeah, the first time out on the road and just listening to the chuffs like that, the first time I fired for that, I was like,
So,
oh my
I know
God,
Railroads
what is
Online,
this?
in terms of video games, Railroads Online has the issue just because of software, where it'll kick you off the track if you go too fast. But in real life, like, track conditions would still determine your top speed, but presumably if you had a big, flat, open, completely perfectly flat, straight section of track, like, nothing is going to cause these engines to derail, right? If they go full speed, like, you could just, once you get to full forward, full regulator open, full speed ahead, like, nothing would theoretically just cause it to launch, like they wouldn't ever be powerful enough to yeet themselves off the track, right? Like, they'd just be...
So long as the track is, maintained and surfaced properly and everything, like all the tires are in good shape, all the spikes are tight, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Like, you could theoretically just send the engine till it runs as fast
so
as
it's always
it can.
it's always a track limitation on an engine's speed, basically, is what it is with these things.
Oh, pretty much. I mean, you do run into a issue with the engines themselves where the pistons will be trying to change direction so fast, and the weight is so much, and the inertia is so much that you'll start to break components. So there is definitely the engine starts to vibrate itself to death kind of thing.
Right.
Which is, that's why top speed is related to driver size pretty significantly. But yeah, you could take any engine to that limit or, just below it to be safe if you had perfect bullet straight track that was really well maintained and leveled and everything.
It's interesting. And I don't know, I'm sure it wasn't a freight engine, but top speed of an actual steam locomotive. There's got to be some record held by some locomotive somewhere. I mean, not necessarily narrow gauge, but...
The record that is out there for a steam locomotive that is published in Guinness and everyone accepted is 127 miles an hour. Might be 126, I can't remember.
On a steam locomotive.
Correct, on a steam locomotive. It was the British A4 class Mallard that did it. And us in the States always joke that it was downhill with a tailwind.
Because that makes the biggest difference, is the downhill tailwind part.
Right. So the funny thing is that there's about a zillion undocumented, documented but not official records of trains in America, particularly on the Pennsylvania and New York Central railroads, doing 140 miles an hour. Based on eyewitness accounts, engineer accounts, and things, but they never pulled a true dynamometer car behind it like the British did, so the record's never really been official. So Mallard's record has been the official one for all these years.
And what kind of an engine is it? What's the designation of it?
So the Mallard is a 462 Pacific.
A 462.
Yes. Yeah, big
Open
drivers.
cab at 120 miles an hour, like it's just...
No, it's actually pretty streamlined. I'll have to show you a picture later. It's a really weird looking steam locomotive.
Okay. Interesting. But this
For
thing,
the American
it was a purpose built. We're gonna try and break the record with this engine kind of engine. Like
No, it was just
or it's an actual
just
like
one of the Pacific
manufactured
type engines designed to run fast for fast passenger trains. And Britain actually regularly had like 90 and 100 mile an hour passenger trains back in the day with their steam trains. So, I mean, it was, not uncommon. And I don't know what actually spawned the desire to see and hauling the dynamometer car and actually going for the record kind of thing. But
I think someone traveled to the States and they traveled to the States and they rode on one of those 140 mile an hour trains. And then they were like, we got to just set the record officially before.
Maybe.
That's how it happened.
One of the neat things is that one of the locomotives that was, in the mythos of doing 140 miles an hour in the States is a locomotive called the T1, Pennsylvania Railroad T1. And it's a 4444.
Okay.
A duplex 4444. So it had two sets of engines with four drivers
which means,
each.
So two sets of cylinders.
Two sets of cylinders.
One boiler.
But it's not articulated. So it's all one solid frame. It doesn't pivot.
But it's still one boiler. One steam cap, one throttle.
One, yes, precisely.
And then it just splits after the throttle to two separate lines that go evenly to the front and the back.
Yep.
And they must be completely identical length lines, otherwise you'd run into the differential problem.
They may actually not be exactly the same because, I mean, it ultimately, once flow starts to happen, it just kind of is what it is and it does what it does.
Right, but then presumably if they're not the same, you'd run into kind of like the differential problem with cars where the load's going to go to the closest thing first.
Well, you're ultimately restricted by the valves anyway, so you'll end up stacking up almost always.
Oh, it'll deliver pressure to one, and then the wheels won't move, and then until the wheels move. So then, but the wheels on that 4.4, they could fall out of sync with each other.
Oh, absolutely. That's the case on any duplex, any articulated, anything like that.
And then when they do, like, that just happens.
That just happens, and maybe it's a little slip, maybe it's not. It doesn't really matter.
So what do you do if you have four wheels slipping and four that aren't? You're just like, all right, ride through the slip.
You still have to shut the throttle back. There's a great clip from an old film that the Union Pacific did talking about the big boys,
right?
Called The Last of the Giants. And there's a great clip of the front engine just doing its thing, putting out the yard 4 mile an hour, and then the rear engine set's doing like 50 miles an hour in place. It's
and
like,
slipping.
Okay, pinch it back down there, buddy.
And what, the big boy was a 280 or something, or a
4884.
A 4884. That's a monster.
Yes. Huge locomotive. I mean, they're mind-blowing. If you ever come visit me down in Denver, we have one on display in Denver.
But
Not at my
they were
museum,
narrow gauge, or they were
museum.
standard gauge?
They were standard gauge, very much so. So huge locomotives. Definitely, certainly very impressive as well. Not actually the biggest or most powerful, but definitely probably the most notable in terms of people know of them most commonly. But,
well, I mean, I've heard the name Big Boy. I never actually have seen one in person. I don't think, or ever really
Yeah, everyone knows the name Big Boy, but there's plenty of engines that were more powerful. There were plenty of engines that were heavier.
So what's the size of a driver on
like
one of those things?
They're 68-inch, so 5'8".
Jesus.
Which is relatively, that's a medium-sized thing, and that's for more tractive effort for freight. The big fast engines had 80-inch drivers. Some of them had like 84, so 7-foot tall drivers.
But then your driver goes past the boiler, right? Like at that point, like your boiler's in between the drivers, or do they let like the boiler just mount everything higher up?
Well, the standard gauge engines are 16 to 17 feet tall usually. So yeah, I mean, either the boiler's over or somewhat pocketed in between the space of the drivers, depending on the engine. And,
when that size of an engine though is going full steam, like the fire must be just monstrous.
The size of the firebox in the big boy is absurd. I mean,
you'd have to just be like one guy shovels coal, just that like.
There is an Archimedes screw that feeds the coal from the tender to the engine.
What?
Yes.
Oh my god.
It's called a stoker, and it's a steam engine that runs an Archimedes screw that then runs it to an elevator screw, which puts it on a big table at the back by the fire door. And then you have a V-shaped arrangement of valves that are steam jets that blow the coal off of the table all across the firebox to wherever they need to go.
How are you,
sir? Hi, friend.
Are you empty?
No, I accidentally pulled into the wrong chunk of the yard.
Well, hello. We're showing up at rather opportune times. How's it going?
Yeah. Hey. Oh my goodness, I still need to pull another half car forward.
Oh, okay. I don't need to move then. You got space.
Yeah, I just need a half car.
So if you have an oil burner, right? Because I have like a natural gas water heater in my house, which is essentially an oil burning water heater. Except it's natural gas. But the burning pocket for that is really small because all you need is a pipe that like kind of swivels back and forth inside a burning chamber, and that whole chamber is very, very small. Like it doesn't have to be very big at all. Now, obviously, we're not heating steam quantities of water, and we're not bringing it to the boiling point. But if you have an oil burner, like you wouldn't need nearly as big of a firebox, right? Like the firebox would shrink drastically in size, wouldn't it? Because the fire would just be...
Yes and no. The shape becomes a little different because with a coal fire, you're trying to have the right mass of fire bed and the right airflow in to accommodate that fire bed at a certain depth.
Smoke flow out so you don't choke the fire out.
Exactly, but with oil, it's hard for it to spread super far back and super long distances. So usually the oil burning fireboxes are a little bit more square in profile, but they can definitely still be really big because they have a steam powered atomizer at the burner that turns the oil into a small mist of oil and also forces it back towards the fire door so that you can have the fire occupy the whole firebox using steam power.
Interesting. So they don't, the oil,
you have to have the heating surface, so.
Like they'd be burning oil that's much thicker than like anything like propane or gas or any of those natural vapors that we use for like
absolutely.
Barbecue. Like it'd be a thick oil.
Originally, most locomotives burned bunker C, which is basically sludgy grease. It is not any any variety of anything that flows easily.
You also went to the unload line, which is...
I realized that as I was going in, but brakes are so bad, so I'm going to try and grab all 9 of them and then stick them in a different lane from the other end.
Well, why don't you just come all the way forward and back into a different lane? That would be... Oh, you've already disconnected. Never mind. You've just screwed it all up.
Yeah, we're railroading here today.
Yeah,
it's
perfect.
Okay.
Yardmaster. Yardmaster.
Yeah. The amount of times crap like this happens on the railroad, not just on the crap, but on the real railroad.
Where it's like and then you got the Italian guy leaning up.
Yeah, basically. Angry hands.
Angry hands yelling at the guy who didn't put his train in the right spot. That's basically how that goes?
Yeah, it's very much a game of, oh, well, first shift did this. Yeah. And they left us with this. Now we have to fix it. They put these trains in the wrong place.
Can you tell Hyce used to work on a railroad, guys?
That is how that goes.
First shift did it this way, and they did it wrong, so I don't want to do it anymore.
Oh my god.
I gotta rebuild the smelter at some point. After I saw your Y, I really want to put a Y here instead of the turntable. I think it would be cooler.
That would be neat.
Move the engine shed.
With the crossovers and stuff, we should be able to do that now.
Yeah, move the engine shed more into like the middle or something. I can put it off those 3 extra shunt lines. Just have the engine
hitch
shed.
Actually worked. That's hilarious.
Okay. Are you pushing or pulling? What are you trying to do here?
I'm trying to knuckle in still. Oh, dude, yes. We'll stab it into one of the other ones. Dunk. Oh,
yeah, that worked well.
That was a dunk.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Hold on.
That was a big dunk.
Jeebus.
It's fine.
All right, guys. Welcome to Railroads Online. Hyce is oh my god, you wrecked the Suba too. What's your plan now? What's your plan now, Hyce?
I'm gonna re-rail the tender out of the way.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna switch light engine. Because I don't know. Because I can't re-rail that there.
You probably have to.
Okay, well, I'm gonna re-rail this cordwood car out of the way and make some space.
I just want to drop off my iron, man. I really just.
Dude,
I just want to
line me into the second lane and go unload your iron. Okay.
I can't do that because currently there's a train derailed on the main of the primary.
No, there's not. All
right, you're in the second lane now. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. This guy.
Welcome to the railroad, my dude.
You know what? You can just work on unloading your cordwood. I'll leave my iron train parked. In the meantime, I'm gonna move Betsy and then I'm gonna move this engine shed because it's bothering me now and I want to fix it.
Okay, then go for it.
It should. You know what? We'll be back after these short messages. Once again, brought to you by Slacks. All right, are you finally done over there? I see you're doing
finally
stuff.
Yep. Finally
fix up. I tried to make a Y here because I didn't want a turntable anymore and I really struggled and then I couldn't fit it because it just doesn't have space. So I ended up with a turntable again, but we got a 4th lane. So ooh.
Well, hey, now that we've got 9 cordwood cars though, I mean they don't fit 9 to a lane, so.
Yeah, no, 4th lane. So that'll that helps us, I guess. And then it still just splits off to an engine shed. And oh god, this line is really, really kinked. That is so bad. Hold on, let me fix that.
Con making the kinky track.
I made it in 2 sections. That was the problem. Now that you got bigger splines, you got to go back and make it in like a single.
It's fine. It was fine.
All right, we're good. We'll just connect this up to there. There we go. That's so much better. But yeah, so we got our engine shed. We still have a turntable here. You know, it is what it is. You got to go to the turntable, turn around, leave the smelter. Actually, in this case, you don't. You just have to run around your train.
I do. I need to turn around. Actually.
Wait, no, you do need to turn around. Yeah, you do. Yeah,
gotta face the other way to go back to the freight depot.
Actually, we both have to. All right, I'm gonna come in now, and
yeah, you unload your iron. I need to go and turn around. So this actually, we're justifying the 4th lane right here, right now.
Because you did the runaround lane. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm taking 2 lanes with the cars, and then you're gonna come unload on the 1st lane, and I'm gonna run around on the 4th lane.
All right, hear me out. Oh wait, no, my cars aren't coming back. Never mind. I'm going back to the freight depot, empty engine.
Yeah, just light engine.
Because the cars can just stay down here. Oh wow, you took so long. I'm cold. I am unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You let your engine freeze, Con.
My fire is very sad. It is
That's gonna get you fired from the railroad.
Yeah,
letting an engine freeze in the cold. It's gonna cost you.
That's actually a thing.
It would be like if you left it for eons. It would take forever. You could definitely have like pipes and stuff freeze if you're not using them properly.
Right.
And actually,
Are you gonna just smash my train? Is that? It looks like you were.
No, look, I'm stopped. Don't
I
be
was
scared,
worried about
Con.
you clipping that next switch, because if you throw that next switch, then I'm, you know what I mean? Then
we would have been all over the place. That is true.
yeah, that's what always
Spicy
scares
switching,
me.
okay?
It's
spicy switching with Hyce. Come on.
the auto switching is a great idea, but it's scary at times.
We had we actually froze a pipe on the 491 during Polar Express because it was so cold out. We didn't run the engineer side injector. And we ran it to start the day to make sure that it worked and everything when we were in the shop. But then when we were on the road, it was like -10 Fahrenheit, so really cold. And we didn't run it while we were out running. And then we went to try and use it between two of the shows, and it wouldn't flow. You wouldn't get water out of the overflow because the hose froze between the engine and tender. And it's like, oh, we need to make sure we're using that if it's this cold out so it doesn't freeze. So, I mean, you could have that sort of stuff happen more commonly. Actually freezing the boiler or something. I mean, it takes it a week to cool off when it's sitting in the shop till it's actually cold to the touch again. So you would be waiting quite some time.
All right, my 6 cars of crap have been unloaded.
That took
I have
you a lot less time. I wonder
I have
why.
$1,700.
Okay. Well, that's
So now I gotta back up, keep this in one of the lanes. Actually, no, I could Dutch drop this into the lane it needs to go into. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna master the Dutch drop.
good. He's going to do it, ladies and gents. I believe in you, Con.
I'm gonna master it. I got the fastest engine in the game. Right? I gotta just line the switches and then get out of the way. Because then, realistically, I'm already in the direction I need to go. I've turned around. Like, I'm already lined in the right direction.
Oh, yeah, you turned around at the
Iron Mine, right.
Yeah.
So if I don't want to have to turn to do this. Actually, hold on a minute. We have Mr. Montezuma there. Excuse me, Montezuma.
Hello, friend.
I am going to go forward, and you could tow my coal cars and shove them into one of those lanes over there.
I could, but I also have to go get... I mean, then you could get on the cordwood cars.
I can pull the cordwood cars back out. We're pushing,
okay, you do that.
push
Okay,
them out.
this is smarter. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, this makes more sense.
I see what we're doing here.
You're in the right direction to do this. So I'm going to brake here and leave these cars here for you. And just unhitch that. All right, have a nice life. They're not braked or anything, so I'll slow them all down to stop. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm going to get out of here. And then I'm going to do your cordwood alignment.
I think each cut has some brakes on, so you're gonna have to check.
Of course it does.
the brakes.
What a guy putting all the brakes.
Something securement, something.
Whatever. It's just,
You
know.
left a link in the last hopper here unnecessarily, sir. So I
Did
don't wanna hear
I was
it.
probably linked on that side when I was going up.
Yeah, you probably were.
I
It's
was, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you better run.
fine. I'm running. I'm going. Getting
All
out
right.
of Khan's way. You got the Glenbrook, the
Full
speedy
reg and
boy.
reverse. Here we go. 9 cordwood cars at 100%.
It's 9 cars.
It's
Let's not
9
change.
empties, dude. I'm gonna fly. I'm not even gonna feel them.
Pretty much. Oh god, yeah, you're already
Hello,
at the throat of the
how are
yard.
you? Watch, I forgot to miss like a connection. I'm gonna stop, and then half the cars
And
are
then
gonna
the
keep
other
going.
cars are just gonna go.
Yeah, hope not.
Yeah, you're zooming. It's annoying to me that Montezuma, whistle. Montezuma did not get its speed updated, because Montezuma's only saving grace is that it was fast,
Right.
and the fact that it's stuck at 17 and like the Glenbrook got sped up, it's just like, okay, well where's the zoomy boys day?
Yeah.
Give me 30 miles an hour, give me death.
All right. Well, I'm lined onto the main now, so here we go. I'm at 100%, zero brake.
Send it. Here we go.
Yeah. Gonna see. Are you even over the bridge yet? You're not crossing over top of me
I'm
yet.
not
are
even
you?
on the bridge yet,
Oh
dude.
goody. Oh goody. You're still just on the other side of the
I'm back
smelter.
at the tail tracks
Okay.
of the
okay.
of the 2 loading and unloading stations.
I am already at full speed.
Oh goodness. Well,
But
if you're
this
at
is
full
like
speed, you might derail.
Yeah,
Be
this is
careful.
spicy. Like this is. I'm gonna go 55% reg. Oh God.
Pee in a cup. Pee in a cup. How much of a train explosion was there? I can't see. You're not rendered in.
It was like literally on. It was on the like. I can't even tell. I only have 4 cars now. I don't know what happened to the rest. They may or may not
Goodness.
still be on the track. We're not sure. There's a team that's investigating.
I see.
All right, here we go. Trying this again. This time I'm not going to go 100% the whole way because that seemed silly.
I'm actually wondering if QMA were to make the sleds be tapered like real train wheels, if the game's physics engine would help keep things centered better.
There's no way I'm catching you.
Probably not. It's
Maybe
fine, I'm
without the
gonna run
derailment I
home
would have had
scot-free.
it, but I got too excited. I pinned it, you know.
We're even on P-cups for this episode.
I killed
so
like 3 people on those middle 2 cars. It is what it is.
It's fine, you know. Just
You
squished
know?
them flat.
They're passenger cars, and there was a school bus full of children on the other direction of the two. There was a field trip on a train that, you know,
Field
like,
trip on the train and the runaway. Yeah.
yeah, and the
I mean, it was 8
runaway was
cars.
going towards it, and just, you know, it was nothing I could do about it. It was just, we make way too many unstoppable references.
We really do.
It's not a
too,
problem.
It's too fun. It is too fun to reference, though.
So your throttle on a steam locomotive is notched, right? Like it's a notched throttle as well, or is it just like a
yeah.
or
I
is
mean,
it
yes
spring
and no.
loaded, or is
So
it just
there-
like you pull
there's
it and
a-
set it?
There is a toothed quadrant
Okay.
that when you squeeze the handle, it moves basically some teeth off of the quadrant, and you can move the lever. But there's slop in the teeth, and there's slop in the lock, and there's slop in the rod, and there's slop in all the pins. And even in one specific notch, depending on how worn the teeth and the pins and everything are, you can get several different positions of throttle. And sometimes it works well for you, and sometimes it doesn't. And
Right.
there's no, I have this percent. The only things you know definitively are it's closed or it's wide open because it doesn't go anymore, or it hits something in the cab that means it can't open any further. So
Is there any risk with the way that the throttle on the top is, as far as I understand, it's a big cylindrical thing that gets lifted up and down with a groove in it, right? And
more or less, I've got a
and-
good video that I could show you
right,
later.
and then
to film the channel.
depending on how high, it's like a tap, basically, like a tap for your house. Depending on how high up the throttle is, determines how much steam could flow around it to get into the pipe, right?
Yes, but it's flowing from above and from below, so that it's
Right, and the
theoretically
pipes come
balanced.
out the
It's called a
sides.
poppet valve.
Right. So it's a big, like, concave, like almost like a concave yo-yo type dealio.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that much. So on engines, there's no risk of, like, let's say your throttle rod pops completely off. Like, there's no risk of that throttle itself, like, it'll still be supported in that, or would it just, like, drop with gravity and open up completely, or would it close
they
naturally?
design the two seats so that the top seat is slightly bigger, so that there's always theoretically steam pressure trying to close the valve,
Right.
but not so much, because if it makes it so much, it makes it really difficult to open.
Right.
And I've met some steam engines like that. But you open that up, and if you were to have some sort of failure, it'll try and close it. But everything's pinned and cotter pinned or flat keyed to make sure nothing can come undone.
Yeah, so there's no, like, risk of, like, you lose throttle and the steam pressure blows the valve right out of the frickin' top, and then you just have this violent control.
They're so high up in the steam dome that once the lid's on, too, I mean, you would be probably hard-pressed to actually get the valve itself out of the body that the throttle is in.
Right.
I mean, it would hit the top before it would actually, like, come out.
I'm realizing after this mission, I started with like 24 something beforehand, and now I'm down to 1800. So clearly, the money-making episode worked out real well.
Yeah, we've lost money because we bought trains.
We
but
lost
buying
money, bought trains, and then made more money. So that's just sort of the way
buying
it goes.
trains brings happiness. So
True.
I mean,
yeah, true. That's
always good.
yeah. It's unfortunate. I mean, we got more cars, which is good. The 9 cordwood cars is really going to help, I think.
Keep the throughput to the smelter.
Yeah, the
ready so that
smelter
we can run
sucks
more
back
stuff.
cordwood like crazy. Well, yeah, there you have it. Let's. I'm just gonna park this right. I guess you want to shunt me to one of those lanes. Pick a
Sure.
lane for me. I got 9 cars, so I'll
Yeah,
need
we should
one
be
of the
able to
bigger
stick in
lanes.
something else.
There we go.
We're managing to block one entire lane with just a caboose, which is
Yeah, that's an
hilarious.
interesting one. You can kind of punt it. I can kick it out of the way, to be honest.
You could, but I'm gonna line you into the middle lane of the 5, I think,
Oh, perfect.
because that'll be fine.
But yeah, let us
It's
know what you
open
guys think in
nothing.
the comments down below. You know, more deliveries need to happen before we can buy more.
We actually need to make money so
Yeah.
that we can use the track that we built.
Turns out
because
the
of our own
Heisler's like
hubris.
$5,600, and so is the Climax, so that's just cool.
That's gonna be spendy.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna need to spend some money. The good news is once we get a Climax up at the helper station, we can take the Class 48 to the smelter, and then we can take the Betsy to the Porter back to the freight depot and just have it be, you know, a special little display or something. But either way, yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you check out Hyce's channel. I'll put the link in the description. And we're just gonna park these trains and have a good one.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Catch y'all next time.
See ya.